Hi there, my name is April Sattel and welcome to my channel. Today what I'm going to be doing is just showing you a super easy way to make a gift bag. This is not a precision bag whatsoever. This is good. It's just got a drawstring. This is going to be good for gifts, or it's going to be good for, I've got marbles. I'm going to be putting marbles in for Easter, and I'm going to be filling a whole bunch of these little bags with marbles. So it's just going to have some drawstrings. And I am going to be using all kinds of clothes to do this with, and I'm going to be using a lot of scrap fabric. I'm going to show you how. Let's get started. So all you're going to need for this project is I've got a big long ruler, I've got a rotary cutter, scissors, some pins, and you will need a safety pin to bring your drawstring through. You need an iron and mat. I've got some scrap fabric that I had cut for something else. I think I want to use that. And these are just old scrubs. And I'm just going to cut all of these clothes down to make these little bags. And these are just like an old pair of pants. I've already used them for several projects. So I'll be cutting right into all of this. You can use anything for the drawstring. Just got some long strips of fabric that were in my stash of scraps. So I've got some old strips here. I've got some ribbon, some rickrack. I save a lot of ribbon that comes off packages when I get packages. And, you know, you can use literally anything on this. You could actually just cut up a piece of the fabric that you're using if you wanted it to match. Just cut a thin strip and use that. I think I'm going to make mine about a 10 by 18 roughly. All I'm really going to care about is just getting a straight edge here with all this fabric, and then I can measure. I just want to cut into one side here because I'm only going to make one with this color. So I'll just lay this out, flatten it out. I'm just going to cut the seam off. And then I'm just going to fold this over in half, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut this seam off. It's not that important for me to measure this fabric as it is. I just want straight lines. So I'm going to put my fold right here on a straight line, and I'm going to give that a cut. I just want to have all of the fabric underneath my ruler here, so. I'm going to take my piece of fabric that I just cut, and I am going to put this down I'm going to put the right side down. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to give this a little press on both ends, and I'm going to give this steam. All right, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to just take and I'm going to fold down the edge once, and then I'm going to fold down the edge again, and I'm going to make a pretty good fold here. So let's just say that one's kind of small, and now I'm going to give that another inch or two right there, and I'll measure that in a minute. I can eyeball this all the way through. There's no precision to this project. So, just to see how big that is, my fold over for I'll call that like a hem right there. That's about 1.25 inches. And I'm going to do that to the other side as well. That's just so it's going to have a nice clean edge when I sew it. So there's one, and then I'm going to go again. It doesn't have to be precise. This is either going to be a gift bag, or this is just going to be in my case, this is just a bag for marbles. I would be very happy to use this as a gift bag. So now what I'm going to do, you can see, here's where my finished edges are going to be, right in there. I'm going to do this to all of my pieces. So for how many ever bags you decide you want to make, you could have this all ready. Just go ahead and press the edges, the length. Now this bag is going to be a different size. This is totally a different size than this one. Let's see here. And it's shorter. And that's okay with me. I want to use what I have. These bags don't have to be the same size for what I need them for. And even if they were gift bags, they don't need to be the same size because I can, make a bunch of different sizes to fit lots of different size gifts. I'm just doing a very simple, easy way to make a little drawstring bag without, you'll be able to just use basically scraps. And you can see this one's going to be much smaller when I get that one done. And that's okay. I'm going to set this here beside me as well. And I'm just going to keep on going. To get the biggest bang for my buck on these scrubs, I'm going to cut right here at the pockets because I only need one piece from each color. So I'm going to just cut right about here where these pockets are, and that will give me about 9 inches. Maybe I'll come up a little bit more. I really am not measuring. All the kiddos are going to have different size bags. So there, I've taken the pockets off. And now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take my scissors here and I'm going to just cut right at the edge of that pocket. And I'll cut this right off at the seam. Sometimes you can incorporate these seams into your work. So you can cut all the seams off your fabric, or in this case, this seam's going to be fine over here. I'm just going to sew that together anyway. I'm going to make a seam here and make a seam here. Nobody will ever know that that's on the inside. And it gives me that much more width here on my fabric. So all I'm going to do, I just need to just iron this side, and I'll make this side about the same size as that side. So the work's already done for me there. And then I'm going to just go ahead and give that a little press, and I'm going to be using the steam. Hold that down. See here how that's not perfectly straight? That's okay because I will keep it on this side of it. So when I make my stitch, I'll just come along down here. And then I won't have to really cut that fabric up at all anymore. I'm going to do the same. I'm going to give it one roll, and then a small roll, and then a big roll. And that big roll is a little over an inch probably, as before. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. And I'm not using any measurements. I'm just giving it a small roll and a big roll. And that looks about the same size. Okay. So now I've got 3 of these ready to take over to my sewing machine. I'm going to do the same thing to this one. I'm going to cut the pockets. That way I can use those pockets for something else, and my scissors and my rotary cutter is not going to cut into them. So I'm just going to line this up. I'm going to cut from the top. And I know I want it. So here's 6. I'm really not measuring, but just so you get an idea. So there's 6.5, you know, and then I'm going to add a few more over here. So I'll come up about this high. If you want to, you can measure, or you can just use the work you've already made. I'm going to go a little wider than that. I'm just going to go about this. You can see I've got the seams pulled over. So, yeah, give that a cut right across. I'm running into that button there, that snap. That's okay. I'm going to go right around that. All right. And all I've got to do here, I'm just going to cut this from here to here. Cut it right off that seam. And here. And just keep on doing the same thing. You really can whip these up in absolutely no time. So this side's already got the seam here. I'm going to go ahead and just leave that there. And I'm going to give one matching one on the other side. And then over here, one, and then one big one. And the same over here. One short one. See how it doesn't matter if I'm not straight? It really just doesn't, because it won't matter at all. Now when I make this big fold, it's going to all straighten itself out. See? Press that. Okay, now I've got quite a few here going in different sizes. I don't have my presser foot set at any length. All I want to do is just put my needle on top of my fabric and follow it all the way down to the other side. And I'm following this edge of my presser foot. And I still have my walking foot on. I'm doing a lot of projects that need a walking foot. So instead of changing it, I'm going to leave it right there. And I'm going to give that a back stitch when I start and when I finish. Now I've got the top sewn down. Turn it. I'm going to do the same thing. Fold that back over to where it was. Follow my line. Give it a couple of back stitches and just follow my presser foot all the way down. Following this line. And when you get over here, you're going to have, a bunch of seams. So it does get pretty thick. So the walking foot is really helpful for me because I'm using these old clothes and some of them have seams still in them. So it actually does work out really well. Both of my ends are sewn down. I'm going to come over here, put my needle in. I'm putting my needle in somewhere after the seam. I don't want to be above the seam at all, so it's got to be below. And I'm just going to follow this seam down. And again, I'm coming back to where my seam was, and I'm going to stop before I come into past the seam towards me. I want to stop before that. I need that hole, and I'm going to do a back stitch. I need that hole opening to put my drawstring through. Alright, so 3 sides are sewn down. And I'm going to do the same thing. Go below your seam so your hole doesn't get filled. And actually that side does not need it, see, because it is already sewn down from the way I cut the fabric. The seam was already there from that shirt that I had cut up. Okay, so now I'm just going to turn this inside out, lining the two edges up, and all I'm doing, I'm not doing any accuracy. I only am going to stick a pin in here so I don't go above my pin. It reminds me to stop. Okay, I'm going to do that to both sides just so I don't sew that hole up. Once you get sewing and you get sidetracked, you know, it's just a good reference, that's all. All right, I'm going to go under, doing the same exact thing, putting my needle in somewhere between where my seam is and below. I don't need those holes filled in. All right, and I'm going to sew all the way down to connect these two sides. I think I might be out of bother. No, I'm not. Okay. Lining the two edges up. And all I'm doing, I'm not doing any accuracy. I only am going to stick a pin in here so I don't go above my pin. It reminds me to stop. Okay, I'm going to do that to both sides just so I don't sew that hole up. Once you get sewing and you get sidetracked, you know, it's just a good reference, that's all. All right, I'm going to go under, doing the same exact thing, putting my needle in somewhere between where my seam is and below. I don't need those holes filled in. All right, and I'm going to sew all the way down to connect these two sides. I think I might be out of bother. No, I'm not. Okay. Then I'm going to give it a back stitch or two right there at the edges. Every time I start or stop, I'm going to give it a couple of back stitches. The bag's going to just be open and closed so much that, you know, you want it to stay together. So you want to have those back stitches in. Okay, turn this one inside out. Poke out my corners. And I'm going to take and I'm going to run my fingers up the seam, pushing the seams out. So here's this bag. And now what I'll do is I'll use some ribbon in this one. This one has, I'll use some of this green ribbon. There's some of that color in there as well. So I'm going to take two pieces, two good size, probably around 20, I'm going to guess around 22 inches each. And I'll snip that right there. Cut that in the middle. Take your pin, put your pin through your piece of ribbon, and now you're just going to hold on to your pin. You're going to come in here, you've got your two pieces here, your two seams where you've sewn them, and you're just going to go through one hole, pushing your safety pin through, and then pulling your fabric over the top of that so you can feel your safety pin. Now your safety pin is going to pop out, pull, and now you're just going to come back into this hole and back to where you just started. And there's my safety pin. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab both ends here. Don't lose this end inside, and I'm going to pull it. And then I'm going to stretch it out. Now I've got a hold of it, and I'm going to stretch it. I need it stretched because I don't want it to go back inside, and I need to make sure when I cut it, I cut it so I've got a loose bag. So I need to put my knot right here. So on that piece, I cut that about 22 inches each. I probably should have went 25. There's my knot for that side. Okay? Now, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take my pin, put it in the other piece of ribbon. It's got a little piece of tape on it. I'll cut that off. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing, except now I'm going to go through the other hole. So now I'm on this side. I'm going to go through one, pushing it all the way through, and I come to the end, pull, but make sure I don't lose this piece. And then I'm going to come right through this other hole, back to where I just started. And there's my pin, pull that through, and I'm going to bring them edges together of my ribbon so they're the same length. I'm going to give that a little tie off right there. I put a little knot in it. Now I can stretch it out, and this little bag is done. So I'm going to drop my marbles in, or my gift if I had gifts to give. Put that like that, and pull my drawstring. And now the little kids are all going to have a little bag of marbles. Now you know that I made all the bags different sizes. I'm going to measure this string about 25 inches just because the first string was a little bit too short for what I wanted. So I'm going to say about 25 inches. Go ahead, put my marbles right in there and pull the drawstring. Bunch of little bags made up. I still have a ton more that I want to make. These are going to be so much fun. The kids are going to love them. And I'm going to just continue to make them and fill them with the marbles. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Remember to keep it simple. Have a nice day. Thanks for watching. Bye.